Good Monday. It's time for Breaking the News. I'm Janice Shortle. So you heard Julie talk about it. Today, President Trump announced the federal government takes control of the Washington, D.C. Police Department, and they're also sending National Guard to the city. They're there as we speak. It's a move Trump says is needed to tackle the violent crime in D.C. that's out of control. He even suggested he could do the same thing in other big cities. But those who follow the actual data say they don't follow the president's argument. Here's Kent.
This morning, President Trump declared a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C., with plans to federalize the police, at least temporarily.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
But one person who tracks that crime and bloodshed is confused.
I certainly have questions. This doesn't seem to match what that data is showing us.
Jillian Peterson is a professor of criminology at Hamline and executive director of the Violence Prevention Project, which is dedicated to reducing violence through research. According to DOJ research, violent crime in D.C. hit a 30-year low last year. And today, D.C. Metro Police stated it's fallen another 26% this year. Peterson says that fits a wider trend. An FBI report just released last week found violent crime fell nationwide, including a nearly 15% drop in the murder rate, continuing a steady downward trend they've followed since those stats spiked between 2020 and 2022.
What we've been doing at our research center is really focusing on what caused that spike. Because if you understand what caused the spike, then you understand how to bring it down and why it's coming down.
She says that research found that the upending of life during the pandemic, followed by unrest after the murder of George Floyd, led to instability and crime.
Now we're seeing all those things being put back into place with school and work, all those things that connect us, religious organizations, and changes in policing. And so it's hard to say exactly what it is, but it seems to be working. We truly are coming back down.
But the White House contends it's not enough, asserting today that D.C. still had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country last year. And the president isn't ruling out a similar response in other cities.
We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
We really need federal data. We need federal research. Federal firearm tracking would be amazing. We just have such a lack of federal data. So it's really hard to know what's working, what's not working. It's unclear here why we're using these resources in this way at this moment, especially with this huge report coming out last week saying we're at record lows in terms of violent crime in this country.
Now, today, the mayor of Washington, D.C. called the president's move unsettling and unprecedented, but acknowledged that he can essentially take over the city police for up to 30 days using something called the Home Rule Act. But that's unique to the nation's capital. Now, we asked the city of Minneapolis about the possibility of a federal takeover here. A spokesperson for Minneapolis Office of Community Safety sent us a very short statement saying, quote, "The president has no lawful authority to assert control over the Minneapolis Police Department." Jana, of course, this all depends, though, on if this is pushed, what would the court say about that?
Right, because, I mean, at least in Minneapolis, any city, really, D.C. is different. We don't have home rule here in the city of Minneapolis or any city in Minnesota.
Right. And so this, on paper, wouldn't seem to be something that they could go that far. But again, we've seen, like in California earlier this year, there have been some new precedents set.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kent.